The sound of a heavy cleaver hitting a wooden cutting board is the only thing masking the rhythm of blood dripping onto the linoleum floor. They say you should never look a devil in the eyes unless you're ready to dance in the flames, and for Tiana, the devil didn't arrive with horns. He arrived in a $3,000 Bryony suit, clutching a silenced Beretta and a gut wound that should have already ended him. Meet Lorenzo, the ghost, Moretti, the man who owns the Chicago skyline and fears nothing but God. Tonight, he's bleeding out in the kitchen of a woman the world chose to ignore. Tiana is just a cook from the South Side, a woman whose hands carry the scent of thyme and smoked paprika, but in 10 seconds, she has to make a choice: let the most dangerous man in the city die and pray his enemies don't see her face, or perform a miracle and marry a monster just to stay alive. The evening rush at Tiana's Soul Kitchen had just ended. The smell of rosemary and charred lamb still hung thick in the air. For Tiana, this kitchen was her sanctuary, the only place where she was the boss. But that peace is shattered when the back door slams open, bringing with it the freezing Chicago wind and the metallic tang of gunpowder. Lorenzo Moretti collapses against her prep table. He is the face of new money to the public, but to the streets, he is the iron fist of the Moretti crime family. Tiana freezes, a kitchen knife still in her hand. She sees the expensive fabric of his shirt soaked dark. She should run. She should call the police. But then she hears it, the heavy, rhythmic thud of boots in the alleyway. Men with cold eyes and automatic weapons are coming to finish the job. Lorenzo looks up, his Italian accent thick and strained by pain. "Don't scream, Bella," he rasps, his hand tightening around her wrist. "If they find me here, they will kill you just for being a witness." The realization hits her like a physical blow. The moment he stepped through that door, her life as a simple cook ended. As the lead gunman kicks the door off its hinges, Lorenzo pulls her close, his breath hot against her ear as he whispers a command that feels like a death sentence: "Tell them we're married, or you won't live to see the sunrise." The barrel of a rifle is cold, but the look in the gunman's eyes is colder. Marco, a captain from a rival crew, sneers as he looks from the bleeding boss to the woman standing over him. To him, Tiana is invisible, just another worker in the wrong place at the wrong time. But Tiana finds a voice she didn't know she possessed. She steps in front of the gun, her chin held high, her voice steady with a Southside grit that matches Marco's malice. She doesn't just say she's his wife, she claims it with a ferocity that makes the gunman hesitate. She weaves a story on the fly, a secret ceremony, a hidden love that the racist, old guard Morettis weren't supposed to know about. The lie is a gamble. It plays on the rivals' confusion. It buys them exactly 4 minutes. 4 minutes for the distant wail of sirens and the screech of Moretti's armored SUVs to tear through the neighborhood. When the smoke from the ensuing shootout clears, the kitchen is a ruin. Lorenzo is being lifted onto a stretcher, and as he loses consciousness, his fingers remain locked around Tiana's sleeve. He looks at his guards and speaks 2 words that seal her fate: "Bring her." Tiana wakes up in a bedroom the size of her entire restaurant. The walls are cold limestone, the sheets are 600 thread count silk, and the windows are bulletproof glass overlooking Lake Michigan. She's been transported from the South Side to a fortress. Lorenzo is awake, propped up on pillows, his chest bandaged. He explains the reality of her situation with chilling precision. The rival families believe the lie. They think she is the secret weakness of the ghost. If she leaves this house, she will be snatched off the street in minutes. "You saved my life with a lie, Tiana," he says, his voice like velvet over gravel. "Now you have to live that lie to keep it. My family is old-fashioned. They won't accept a cook. But they will respect a wife. From this moment on, you are a Moretti. Act like it." She's the Black Queen of a white-tiled empire now, trapped in a golden cage where the guards carry Uzis, and her husband is a man who orders hits between sips of espresso. The tension in the house is thick. Lorenzo's sister, Isabella, treats Tiana like an intruder, throwing subtle jabs at her heritage and her status. But Tiana isn't one to be bullied. She refuses to eat the bland, catered meals the staff brings her. One night, unable to sleep, Tiana enters the mansion's industrial-grade kitchen. She begins to cook, not the delicate Italian fare Lorenzo is used to, but the food of her people. Smothered chicken, collard greens with smoked turkey, and cornbread that smells like home. The aroma draws Lorenzo down. He sits at the marble island, watching her move. He spent his life surrounded by people who fear him or want to use him. But Tiana? She just hands him a plate and tells him to sit down and eat. In that quiet moment, the cultural divide vanishes. He tastes the soul in her food, and for the first time in years, the ghost feels human. But every kingdom has a snake. Dante, Lorenzo's consigliere and longtime friend, watches Tiana with narrowed eyes. He sees the way Lorenzo is changing. The boss is becoming less calculated and more protective. Dante begins to dig into Tiana's past. He finds her mother's medical bills, her struggling bistro's debt, and the fact that there isn't a single legal document linking her to Lorenzo. He doesn't take this to Lorenzo, he knows the boss is smitten. Instead, he leaks the information to the commission, the council of the 5 families. He tells them that Lorenzo has insulted their traditions by bringing an outsider into the inner circle without a blood oath. The commission calls for a meeting. The price for Lorenzo's insult is Tiana's life. The meeting takes place in a dark, wood-paneled room in the back of an old-world social club. The air is heavy with the smell of cigars and ancient grudges. The heads of the families demand proof of the marriage. They want to see the contract. Lorenzo stands, but he doesn't reach for a pen. He reaches for a ceremonial dagger. He looks at the men who have known him since he was a boy, and then he looks at Tiana, who is standing at the back of the room, her heart hammering. I don't need a piece of paper to tell me who belongs to me, Lorenzo bellows. He slices his palm open, the blood deep and dark. He beckons Tiana forward. In a move that shocks the room, Tiana doesn't flinch. She takes the blade, cuts her own hand, and presses her palm against his. The blood vow. It is an ancient, dangerous tradition. It means if one dies, the other follows. It means she is no longer a cook, she is his equal in the eyes of the underworld. To celebrate the union, a grand gala is held. It's a sea of diamonds and hidden daggers. Tiana is draped in emerald silk, her natural hair styled like a crown. She looks every bit the queen, but she knows the eyes on her are filled with hate. As the orchestra plays, the lights flicker. Dante has made his final move. He's allowed a hit squad from the rival syndicate to bypass the mansion's security. Panic erupts. The sound of shattered glass and suppressed gunfire fills the ballroom. Lorenzo is shoved to the ground as a flashbang grenade goes off. In the chaos, Tiana is grabbed. She sees Dante's face in the shadows, nodding to the kidnappers. They aren't going to kill her here, they're going to take her to break Lorenzo. When Lorenzo regains his senses and sees Tiana's empty chair, something inside him snaps. He doesn't act like a businessman anymore. He acts like a monster. He finds Dante in the security room, trying to wipe the tapes. The confrontation is short and brutal. Lorenzo doesn't care about the years of friendship, he only cares about the woman who saved him in a South Side kitchen. The rescue mission is a symphony of violence. Lorenzo leads his men to a shipyard on the edge of the city. He doesn't wait for backup. He enters the warehouse like a wraith, taking down men 3 times his size. He finds Tiana tied to a chair, a gun to her head. But Tiana isn't crying. She's been watching the guards' patterns. Just as Lorenzo bursts through the door, she leans back and kicks the guard's legs out from under him. The war is over. The commission is silent. Dante is a memory. The sun rises over the lake, casting a golden glow over the mansion terrace. Lorenzo hands Tiana a folder. Inside is the deed to a new building, a 3-story restaurant in the heart of the Gold Coast. And next to it, a passport with a new name and $10 million. The debt is paid, Tiana, Lorenzo says, his voice thick with an emotion he can't quite hide. You're safe now. You can go back to being the cook who doesn't know my name. Tiana looks at the money, then at the man who sacrificed his entire reputation and his oldest friend to keep her breathing. She looks at the scar on her palm, matching the one on his. She walks to the edge of the terrace and drops the folder into the water below. I'm not a cook anymore, Lorenzo, she says, turning to face him. And you aren't just a ghost. If we're going to do this, we're doing it for real. No more lies. No more just to save me. Lorenzo steps forward, his hand cupping her face. For the first time, he doesn't look like a boss. He looks like a man in love. Then let's start with a real wedding, Cara MIA. In the world of the Mafia, love is a liability, and loyalty is a death sentence. But for Lorenzo and Tiana, it was the only thing that made them feel alive. Their story didn't end with a rescue, it began with a choice. If you want to see more stories of high-stakes romance and dark underworld secrets, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. What would you do if you were in Tiana's shoes? Would you take the money and run, or stay and rule the empire? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're ready for another story of billionaire obsession, click the video on your screen right now.